Hey man, how's it going?
Howdy doody, how are you?
I'm good, man. And welcome back, Andrew. It's nice to have you back again, my friend. How's it going?
Hey, hey, hey. It's
Hey,
going
hey,
good.
hey. Good, yeah. Welcome to Bite My Shiny Metal Cast, episode 12 of season 3. And yeah, what is this one here? Insane in the Mainframe. Man, what an episode. Like I'm I really enjoy this episode again. I will admit from the get-go, not my I don't laugh as much in this episode, but I do find a lot of the story elements in it, and I really enjoy like all the little subtle jokes and little items in
I
it from
think
like
that's been the
certain
theme.
sci-fi things.
That's definitely been the theme this season, at least after
Yeah.
oh, what was that one episode that we thought was hilarious this season?
Oh,
Oh, the Amazon woman one was probably the last funny. Oh no, the day that Earth Stood Stupid was also really funny.
that one was really funny. Um,
Because
yeah,
after the day that Earth Stood Stupid was Lobstertainment, which was clever but
mhm.
not funny. Then Bird Bot of Alcatraz, which had a few jokes in it, but
Yeah,
not
that one's
not really
funny, but not.
funny.
Yeah,
And then Luck at the Fry, which was really heartfelt. And then the one where you and I keep screwing up, the
right.
Cyberhouse Rules, which also was cleverly written. So
Yes.
it seems to just be the theme. I think this one is just well written, clever, and more think about it humor than like, oh, slapstick funny stuff. Ah ha 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 ha.
Yeah, it's not like exactly. It's not really in your face humor, right? There's a bit of
No.
like the subtlety to it, and there's like the little odd joke that makes you
Yeah.
go, "Oh, that was good. That was really good." So, and Andrew, overall, your thoughts on this episode with it generally? Do you remember watching this from before, and how your thoughts of it nowadays?
Yeah, I can't remember the first time I watched it, but I do remember watching it during a rewatch in university and just
Sure.
so much falling into place then because I had better frame of reference, more pop culture
Closer to the
knowledge,
actual date it came out.
closer to
Right.
the action. But like the penny dropped and rewatching it too, it's a strong episode, but like you said, it's like
I think it's
it's not
it's
packed
aged.
with laughs, but it's
Yeah,
it's
but it's
aged well.
aged well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. I think so too. It stands up, and I really appreciate it more for it. But yes, as I mentioned, it doesn't don't laugh out as much, but there are still times I'm like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So yeah, let's just jump right into the episode here. So opening caption. Oh, actually, sorry. Before the opening caption, we actually have a cold open. This is I believe, the last cold open of the entire series,
Nah,
and
you're
it's
wrong.
I'm
You were
pretty
wrong
sure it
last
is.
time. You're wrong this time.
What was I wrong before?
I think you said this is the last one. The last time we had one of these.
Oh, I did, and that was like the last different one. But this one's kind of like it's a copy of another one beforehand because they did this like
Molten Boron.
brought to you by Futurama and all this stuff, but then it's Thompson's teeth instead of like the boron, the
Molten
boron,
Boron one. Yeah.
molten boron or whatever. So that's what it was. Actually, funny enough, that's the one we had. Did we have Tristan on for that one? So
Maybe.
coincidentally,
I don't remember.
yeah. So whatever the case, that was like this one, but now this should be the last one, I guess. So they just have this joke. So yeah, Thompson's teeth, the only teeth strong enough to eat other teeth. Whatever.
My
Make that
teeth used to
what
be
it
that
is.
strong too until I got a cavity and now I bite funny.
Sure. So
Don't get
then
cavities.
we
Don't
get
get
into the
cavities.
actual episode or the episode intro rather, and we get into Bender's humor by Microsoft joke. Obviously, a play on like Microsoft Office, Microsoft PowerPoint, all this kind of stuff.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I thought they were just saying that Microsoft was a joke. I'm like, yeah.
I think it was like Microsoft was quite a powerhouse back in the day, right? And so they had a
Still
lot of
are, man.
different.
Still
They
are.
still
They
are,
still
yeah.
are, yeah.
Well, I mean, like they had like a lot of these programs, which they still do, obviously, but then this was kind
And
of a
no
play
one
on
uses
that.
them anymore. I would say that Google Docs is primarily the one I would use if I do something.
I think Office, like business offices, I'm pretty sure use Microsoft.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not. Oh yeah, well, I'm not in that world, so I don't know. But like anytime I had to like write a letter or something like that, or write a small thing,
How
I'd
often you writing
use
letters?
once every 7 months.
Once every year, every time a tree falls on your car.
Dear Congressman.
You don't you don't break out the quill for that?
Yes.
We open at the Planet Express HQ. And wouldn't you know it, it's Zoidberg's 10th anniversary with the company. No one seems to care. Actually, you know what? Just to start this off as well. So, okay, 10th anniversary with the company.
I don't
We
think
know the
that's right.
professor has got to be 140 some years old. Does that mean that Zoidberg joins him? Because Mitchell and I are aware, you as well, Andrew. I think you watched a little bit of the Comedy Central run. In an episode entitled Tip of the Zoidberg, we learn that Zoidberg joins the professor and his company due to the fact that they made a deal. Now, that Zoidberg is quite young. He's like in his 20s or early 30s, we'll say, because he's like a new
he looks
early
young.
med
He's
doctor.
not a fat Zoidberg.
Right. Whereas the professor is like still has hair a little bit, but he's old.
Yeah,
But he's
I
not
think
like
he was in his
noticeably
70s
that
there
old.
or something like
Yeah.
that, 70s or 80s.
But this professor is
40.
170 or something that we figured out from the Death Star, the near Death Star or something. So it's kind of a strange thing, unless they're just calling it the Planet Express crew or Planet Express company. Maybe they didn't call it that beforehand, but it seems like a little of a canon thing. But I don't know. It's
here's how they could fudge those numbers, right?
Sure.
So technically, up to date, the last season that came out last year, and the current season coming out soon, it's been 20 years since Fry's been in the future, but they haven't technically aged, right? So you could say either they somehow scientifically have slowed down how years work, or there's some kind of timey-wimey, agey-wagey thing where like they don't age the same rate and something like that. So they could play that if they wanted to. Or here's my sticky note: suspension of disbelief. Or the people who wrote that episode completely biffed it on this one, which is more likely.
I think it's the very last one you said. Pretty sure they didn't look back and see that this episode had said that Zoidberg has spent 10 years with the Planet Express. Though in my head, I'm just going to say the Professor and Zoidberg had been working and living together for a long period of time, but they didn't actually start the Planet Express company until maybe 10 years ago, and hence why he'd be the doctor.
Well, another example of them not doing their research, even though that was a Comedy Central one, is the one with the space whale too, right? Because they also show like his first crew, right? This first crew with
that's right.
them, right?
And Zoidberg was also quite oh, that's right.
Yeah, so
never mind. Yep, I'm throwing it away. You're right.
Yeah,
Suspension of disbelief. This good.
Yep. The sticky note of truth. That's what that's going to be called.
Sure. So, in any case, we get into the whole group. Their whole group is watching this, of course, and Zoidberg's like in a nice suit or whatever. Like he looks okay, and nobody's excited. And Hermes gives him this mandatory speech and some coupons that unfortunately Zoidberg can't actually afford to use because he has neither oil nor a car. But the main thing about this is that Hermes also gives him his pension statement, saying because it's been 10 years, how much have you put into this? Turns out Zoidberg has put nothing into it. Not a good idea for someone who's, well, obviously Zoidberg is always very poor anyway, so he doesn't really have a lot of money to put in. But this also makes Fry remember that he too has not put any money into his pension. So he's kind of pissed off.
Well, what was his pension, Anthony? Or Andrew, should we say? What was his pension?
Yes, Andrew. What was his pension?
It's $100 in a sock, and that's the best way to do it, kids.
Yep.
And Benjamin Franklin saying that he needs foot cream of some sort.
Yeah, the money talks in the future. I actually do like that, but also not.
I think this is the first time we actually see money talk in Futurama too, isn't it?
I'll say yes to that.
Yeah, I would say is yes as well.
I think we've seen other things like a pizza box talk, but I don't think we've seen money talk before that.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's only other time we've ever seen like real amounts of cash, like
was the Fry episode,
all the stuff when Fry becomes a billionaire. Yeah, but I'm not sure if any of them spoke. But yes, it's nice to see kind of like the presidents on the bills or whatever are all still talking, or not presidents, I guess. Benjamin Franklin's not a president, but all the important people of the United States are kind of still talking in there. I still love how they use, because it's Futurama, but of course this is supposed to be Earth, but all of the cash and everything is still very much using American money.
They are in New York.
So that's true, but the currency should be the whole world, right? Because it's Earthican.
World currency, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the United States won that war, I guess, in the Futurama world.
I mean,
yeah, it's probably true, but it's just funny because then we see like $1,000 bill, which has Andrew's favorite character on it. But in any case, getting ahead of myself. With this, they mention they're all talking about the pension, how Fry's hasn't put anything in, and Bender makes a small joke here about being like, oh, I've got plans, like I'm going to turn my on-off switch to off. I thought that's pretty clever. That's one of those subtle jokes I really enjoy. Like it doesn't make me laugh out loud too much, but it's like quite humorous anyway. So yeah, we have Fry and then Bender because Fry's like, okay, I gotta invest. So what does Fry do? Because he's an idiot, he invests.
Who wants lottery tickets?
Exactly, lottery tickets. So here they go.
You know
to
what, man? You could win it big with lottery tickets, but the chances are very, 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 very small.
Yes. No, and Fry should know that, as all the ones that he spent on the money for. But
but he got a scratch and sniff ticket.
I do like the. What is it? It's whiff and sniff.
Whiff and sniff. Yeah. Scratch, scratch, cherry. Scratch, scratch, cherry. Scratch, scratch, mule. Which mules do not smell pleasant compared to cherries.
Yeah.
So I love that.
So at the very end, we have them. He's like, okay, you've only got $6 left. So now you have, what are you going to do with this? So Fry goes to the bank, and he goes to the Big Apple Bank, which we do see multiple times, not just in this episode, but in other episodes. And he goes to this one, and he's opening an account, and the account takes $10 for a service charge. So he's like already lost money.
You can fight that stuff.
So he's already, what is it? Overdrawn.
Yeah, you're
right?
overdrawn for $4.
So as he's dealing with this, and I do like that she's also calls him like a wealthy mule farmer.
Because that's how bad the
sniff.
scratch and sniff smells.
So that was pretty good. So anyways, we have Bender waiting for Fry in the line, and behind him is a robot we're going to come to know and maybe love a little bit throughout the years, is Roberto, a old friend of Bender's. We don't really actually know how they met. I guess they're just colleagues of some sort.
College.
Sure.
It's a whole thing too, where you and I are like, well, Bender went to school, but he also was on an assembly line, and it doesn't quite make sense.
He's plugged in, so maybe it's just in his head or something, right? Yeah. So anyways, we have Roberto, who I believe is played. This guy is not played by Billy West. This is David Herman. This is David Herman, if I'm not mistaken, and he's crazy.
About that?
I'm positive. So he's a crazy robot. And as soon as the time comes, he holds up the bank. He takes is it a knife or a gun? I think it's just a knife. And he has the knife there, and everybody's freaking out. And he robs the bank. Well, Bender is there with him, but he doesn't quite seem to understand that he's robbing them, or he just doesn't really care because he's still talking about how he's doing like a cooking class or something. But yeah, Andrew, your thoughts on Roberto as a character, because we do see him throughout the series.
I mean, he's a strong character. He makes a great first impression for me.
Sure.
But what I really, yeah, he's direct. He's straight to the point. Knows how to command a room.
Very true.
A top tier character in my opinion. But what I really love is it shows to Bender's self-absorbed arrogance too so well. Bender doesn't give a shit what's happening.
That's very true. That's what I mean, right? He either doesn't realize what's going on, or he honestly doesn't care, right? Because human life to him is expendable.
As he said, like with the Tristan episode, I do find human life to be expendable.
Exactly. So, any case, Roberto robs the bank, takes the money. I love this retroness of this, right? Because obviously people 1,000 years in the future will probably not be using like bags of money, but he still takes it from the bank and he gives it to like each one of them as Fry helped him open the door because he's escaping right before the police come. And he's like, hey, you guys are all right. So he gives each of them a bag of money, which is caught on camera, and Roberto flees right as the police show up. And the police come in, and they basically tackle Fry and Bender, thinking that they are indeed the robbers of this bank. So we cut to a courthouse, and we have Fry and Bender on trial for robbing said bank. And they're Mitchell, this I can't remember exactly. Is this their lawyer, the Rooster?
Yeah.
Do you remember his name by any chance?
I think he's just called the Hyper Chicken.
The Hyper Chicken.
Yeah. He's just it's just what he's called. Hyper Chicken, played by the wonderful Maurice LaMarche, and obviously a very
Maurice LaMarche is
very
wonderful.
very close to Foghorn Leghorn,
Yes,
but as a
which we had mentioned
lawyer.
beforehand. Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, because this is a perfect episode for you, Andrew, because in the previous episode with Tristan, we do see this lawyer again because he's in prison.
Yeah.
So
he's not very good, is he?
He's not very good, no. He's like the Henry Winkler of like fake lawyers. So he says he's their lawyer, and we have an introduction of one of my favorite like just random off characters of the entire series. He's just so awesomely bad, is Judge Whitey, who is just the typical like super corrupt and rich, that's like this kind of like New York type of person. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to hear about it because I'm gonna go to my yacht and I'm gonna do that. Like wonderful character. I love this character for this reason.
Judge Ron Whitey.
Judge Ron Whitey. So court hearing does not go very well. There's a surveillance robot that shows Bender and Fry taking the money from Roberto. It seems like willingly.
Yes.
Right?
They brought the security camera as a witness. It was a robot. and
Yep.
it goes, my memory's foggy, which is a terrible thing to have for a security bot. But then all it shows, yeah.
But then it says it went exactly like this. Right? But yes, my memory's a little fuzzy, but it went exactly like this, right? So it shows the hologram of, yes, Bender and Fry taking the money, looking very willingly from Roberto as if they were accomplices. And when it comes to Fry, who's testifying, he's about to admit that that is indeed Roberto, who is actually the real bank robber. But as the hologram disappears, he sees Roberto in the crowd, and a knife wielding Roberto, threatens him.
He's wearing a beard, though. Roberto's wearing a beard.
Yeah. Well, that's so nobody can recognize him, right? Isn't that the way that it works?
Robots can't grow beards.
Nobody knows he's a robot, I guess.
I feel like they have fake beards in the future.
Yes, they definitely do. So, anyway, the phone rings to Judge Whitey after Fry says he can't testify, or he doesn't want to testify. And Judge Whitey picks it up and gives it to Fry because obviously it's for him, and it's Roberto calling him on the judge's cell phone. I thought that was pretty funny. That's always a really good joke. And we have them at the end of here. The lawyer suggests, their chicken lawyer suggests that they plead insanity due to the fact that they're probably not going to win this case. So he does so. The judge agrees to it due to the fact that the lawyer is quite incompetent. And because Bender is obviously a robot, he assigns him to the Institute of Criminally Insane Robots, and Fry to the one for humans. However, the human one is full due to being poor is considered a mental illness by this judge.
Kind of is nowadays.
So he ends up smashing his mallet and saying, just send them both to the robot loony bin and let's go have lunch or let's get out of here. So they pack up Fry and Bender in a box and they roll them away. So yeah, overall, I think I love this scene. It's very well done. I enjoy like the whole area and like everything's done and everything in the background here. What are your thoughts there, Andrew? What do you think of this part of it?
I mean,
stand out? Yeah,
it's a great scene for so many reasons. Like you said, Judge Ron Whitey, what a character, man.
Yeah.
If
I want to hear about poor people, I'm going to talk to my people at the spa.
Yeah.
Or what's his first thing? He's like about a bank robbery, and apparently a bank is a place where people go where they don't invest their money. Like, and his caddy, what does he say? His caddy chauffeur told him, like, it's great.
Just
like, just
so
the worst
out of
kind
touch,
of person.
so like just reprehensibly evil, but in a comical way.
Yep.
Like, and like I don't want to go too far off course, but declaring poverty a mental illness is just it embodies, like, it's such a great statement on like
the corporatism of this world,
like
or whatever.
The corporatism not only like this world, but what present day has become, really.
Sure, yeah. Consumerism has taken over, and like money means everything. Money makes the world go around, type of thing. Yep.
Cash rules everything around me.
Exactly. That's crazy. But yeah, so we cut over then. Fry and Bender are sent to the robot loony bin, and hence this is another thing I wanted to have you on for as well, Andrew. Insane in the Mainframe, the title of this episode, is of course not a parody, but like a play on of, what is it?
It's a song by Cypress Hill, Insane in the Brain.
Thank you. Yes, because I knew you were a fan of this, and I was going to bring this up. Yes, so we have them going to the robot insane asylum. Now, this is great, super clever. I love this like little joke because it's not funny, but it's just a really clever thing. It is called the HAL Institute of Criminally Insane Robots. And yes, Andrew, where does HAL come from this?
You know I can't let you do that.
Yes.
Can't let
so
him
2001, A Space Odyssey.
Indeed it is. Indeed
absolutely
it is.
Classic.
Yep. Classic
everyone needs to
evil
watch
robot. Yep.
If you like
sure.
Futurama, you'll love 2001.
Yeah, but that one was taken
Odyssey.
very seriously, though. This one, Futurama, is a fun joke.
That
sure.
is true.
But it is funny to see. Yeah. Well, because later there's also another play on with Hal in the episode Love and Rocket. That's in the future as well.
Yes,
so that's pretty funny too. But yes, so I just love this, the criminally insane robots. It's called the HAL Institute for it. I thought that was very clever, very well done. And so they're both set into this, and they have to go on this conveyor belt that brings them through it. And Fry is hoping that he'll be discovered to be human when it goes through, but it turns out Nope. Even the doctor who is prescribed to him, who is a therapist or whatever, Dr. Perceptron, and he uses like electrotherapy and all this kind of stuff on Fry. He doesn't believe him due to the logical circuitry in his brain or logical circuitry in his programming or whatever that suggests he's sent to a criminally institute for criminally insane robots. Therefore, he must be a robot. But Fry keeps on stating, no, I can't be a robot. I'm not a robot. I'm human. I age. And he does all these things.
Look.
Yeah.
What is that thing called that is the head of Dr. Perceptron? It was one of those things that you always saw like Spencer's or whatever it was. You put your fingers on it and like the weird electricity thing.
The electrical ball thing. Yeah.
Plasma ball. That's what it's called.
Plasma ball. There you go. Yeah, it's very much like that, right? And it's pretty cool. I do like the design of Dr.
Yeah, I think that's a
actually.
3D
cool.
rig thing.
Oh, sure. And another one here, and this one I also thought was very clever for this. And Mitchell, do you recognize this name? So as soon as he's not believed by Perceptron and someone's called to take him away, it's a nurse, and her name is Nurse Ratchet. Do you know what this is a reference to, Mitch?
The Jetsons?
No, she does kind of look like her, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, that's what I got more for. But Nurse Ratchet.
Well, it's actually from another book. It's from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and there is a character who's perceived to be like the villain by like the main character, obviously in the book. But this nurse is known to be very, how do you describe it, Andrew? Kind of like very strict, no nonsense, like follows the rules. They're very much so. The Nurse Ratchet from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, she's Cuckoo's Nest does a great job at positioning her as this psychotic villain, right?
Exactly, because it's all in the minds of mostly insane people, right? So.
And I really like. So recently, a few years back, they did a retelling of that story from her perspective called Ratchet. Great series. Give it a watch if you can.
Interesting.
Sorry, it really changed my opinion of the character. Yeah, it was. But
okay. There you go.
Yeah, it's
plug in for that. So Ratchet, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Ratchet.
But that's where that comes from. So Nurse Ratchet was indeed the name is inspired from it, but it also takes place inside of an insane asylum. So like right off the bat, right when we're introduced to this place, I think the naming of these characters in this place are actually like top-notch jokes, top-notch parodies of it. But I digress.
think anytime a comedy does any sort of like go to a mental hospital sort of callback reference, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
You got it.
The 70s and 60s horror movie.
You've got to give an allusion to Cuckoo's Nest. Like
that's true. Yeah, you can't not have that, right?
It's shorthand for just chaotic times.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't have somebody throw something out of a window, or if you don't have like crazy mischief going on and all this stuff, that's not Cuckoo's Nest, right? Yeah, no, it's true.
You know, come to think of it, I can't really think of a movie other than the Good Burger movie, the first one where they went to an insane asylum. And it's the only thing I can think of that has like an insane asylum scene in a movie. I'm sure there's lots, but that's the only one I remember. And of course, it has to be Good Burger.
Shutter Island?
Oh yeah, we did watch that. Yeah. So that was more of an island thing though than an actual hospital though. So
it was on an insane asylum. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Don't you see? The island was a metaphor.
Yeah, geez, man, didn't you get that?
He's talking to you.
Oh.
So Ratchet moves Fry in with his new roommate, right? Because Bender's been moved on to something else. And Bender seems to have a good time during this whole time. But we are reintroduced to Malfunctioning Eddie from, the episode Put Your Head on My Shoulders, where Amy bought her car from Victor, and Fry was talking with Malfunctioning Eddie.
I love Victor.
Right? Victor. So when he goes to meet Malfunctioning Eddie, he tends to have an issue of exploding. So he's not supposed to be surprising when he meets him again. So he goes in and Eddie introduces himself, to which Fry says they've met, and he explodes. This actually does crack me up. I do enjoy every time this happens. This is probably one of the funniest bits, I think. So we cut over to the robot common area. Bender walks over to Fry, and while he's doing so, he walks over and we pass the hairbot. From this is actually an episode a couple episodes before, Andrew. So Fry lost a lot of his hair, or most of his hair, I think, when he got electrocuted, and this robot gave him a new head of hair, basically, and it didn't change. But this robot has now apparently become crazy, and it's like, now I'm a pretty girl. Now I'm a pretty girl. So
as he's combing his hair,
as he's combing the hair on there, yeah. Which is funny actually, because I think he has a different voice. He was a guy.
We're gonna say it's gonna be one of those things where it's just a different robot, like how there's lots of Bender robots, even though we've only ever seen two.
So now there's a different hair.
It's a different hair
robot.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. So, in any case, we passed this one, and Fry is distraught. He's upset. He's horribly malnourished. He's everything. He's tired. So Fry desperately is trying to get out. He really, really, really wants out. And as he's been telling Bender, like, why won't anybody believe me that I'm a human? And we get an introduction to, I don't think we ever really see this robot again, but it's a guy named Unit 2013, who's like, I don't know, what do you want to call this machine? Like some kind of, looks like a Betamax machine with legs.
Yep.
It's quite large, has some arms, or a record player or something. Like he's so much not a human looking robot, but he says, yeah, people don't believe I'm a human either. So, he's with Fry on this, right? He's listening to Fry. He's part of it. He empathizes with him. So he takes Fry around. He introduces to some other people in there. I have to say, I think this is probably my favorite joke of the episode is this one. So I'll keep this in mind for later. But he introduces them to Norm, who's a robot who apparently is getting CIA wavelengths or radio waves on his teeth,
which are little tiny satellites.
But it's true because they have the CIA lunch menu is, and then it just like that he has to close his mouth. But he's a robot in an insane asylum because he believes that the CIA are on his teeth, and they are. It's so funny, so ridiculous. So I thought that one makes me laugh so much. I don't know why. Just like that voice of that woman saying like what their lunch menu is.
Out of all the things that could be leaked from the CIA, it being the lunch menu is probably the funniest. Brilliant.
Yeah, the CIA lunch menu is and then right after that we have Lincoln with multiple personality syndrome.
Yeah.
But they're all Lincoln.
Yeah. I think I have that thing where there's two of me, but it's me. So yeah.
Sure. What do you say? I was born in 200 log cabin.
That line got me.
That is a pretty good line too. Yeah. The insane robots in this episode are actually, they're pretty standout, I have to say, right? Amongst like the main story of the episode, I think these are pretty good little highlights. And then we have Frankie, who's a robot who believes that he's a lunchroom worker, so they put him to work in the lunchroom.
How's it going, Frankie? It's okay.
Poor Frankie.
It's all right.
So these are all the main robots that we kind of met from this. We never see them again, but that's the point.
I think we all get some kind of cameo at some point, especially the Wild Green Yonder in the crowd scene. Like
sure,
I think every talk, every character has had a talk.
We will never hear Frankie again. No. We will never see 2013 again. We will never see Norm. I think we see Lincoln.
The only other time that we might see some of these robots is the Crimes of the Hot episode.
Oh,
which I think is next season. And again, it'll be just like they're in the background because, as I've explained before, when you do when you design characters and stuff like that, especially nowadays with like the computer stuff, when you do a model or whatever, you have that model and then you can just like, oh, here's a crowd scene. I just put it in the background somewhere just to fill up the space or whatever. And
they're all robots. It makes sense, right? You can just change the color or something, and then you're good.
That's what I've done. And I'm like, it looks too obvious, but that's because I work on it. And I'll be like, someone's gonna point that out, and like no one says anything. I was just like,
notices.
All right, well, screw me, guys. I guess I overthought this.
So Fry sits at the table because they've just gotten their lunch from Frankie.
Which is just like a ladle of oil.
I think it's oil, right? Yeah, just some kind of robot because it's a robot place, right? So he sits there, and what do we have? A sick vending machine. Hatter. Right, and
change places.
Nice.
I think that was a catchphrase of mine for a few weeks after revisiting this long time ago, and then you being the awesome friend that you are, like, I'll help with Mitchell's delusions. Yeah, change places.
Change places. Yeah, it's just so catchy because it's just so quick, and then you just run around.
Yeah, but Fry, being a robot, not listening, he keeps getting knocked over and he spills all his oil.
Exactly. So when the Mad Hatter says that, and the Mad Hatter robot or whatever says this, and they all switch around. And he's sitting across from Bender, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know how much more I can take of this." And What are we gonna do? I still want out. And Bender basically is just mocking him, like, oh, whatever, this place is great, you get this, but he's like, I'm not a robot, like I can't do this. He's like, shut up, you're complaining a lot for a robot. And Fry's just had it until they switch places again, and then Bender body checks him off the picnic, or off the not a picnic bench, but just off the lunchroom table bench, I guess, or whatever it is, right? The community bench.
Just to interject here, with the Mad Hatter.
Sure.
Is the implication
it's Mad Hatterbot?
Oh, Mad Hatterbot. But is the implication that they designed that robot to be insane, and then just immediately put him in hell?
I think that's kind of the idea for most of these robots, right? Like Frankie thinks he's a lunchroom worker, so isn't that because he's programmed to work in the lunchroom? I don't know. You're right. Or it's something to do with like this particular robot. Maybe not. Maybe I just figured maybe the hat itself was inserted onto said robot, and then he became the Mad Hatter bot. That'd be my thought.
Fair enough.
You never know. Yeah, I don't know.
But you're right.
Again,
that is true. Yeah.
This is what we like to do. We are definitely overthinking this way too much, and we're having fun.
So we then jump. I think it's probably the next day. The crew is visiting Fry and Bender, and the crew outside have tried to petition for Fry to be released because clearly he's not a robot, but nothing's really happening of that. And Bender is simply just pretending to be, I think he's pretending to be Napoleon.
Napoleon.
Yeah. Sorry. He's pretending to think that he's Napoleon to blend in more with the insane crowd, right? So yes, just sweet Napoleon. And that's basically it. We also get a nice little cameo of Victor from the same episode talking with Eddie. And as soon as he's talking with Eddie, Eddie blows up again. So, it's always pretty good. And we learn that Fry is only surviving in this place because he can't drink oil. He's basically surviving due to the vending machine robot
which keeps coughing up
chocolate bars or candy
bars or Nutrix or whatever.
Yeah.
That would suck.
Well, for the first day or whatever, for Fry it sucks the whole time, I suppose. But at least he's having something to eat, right? He's not going to be choosy. So that night, Fry starts going even more crazy. And then it turns out that Ratchet and Perceptron have come to their room, and they're going to release someone from the room. And it turns out it's not him, it's Eddie. So Eddie's like somewhat healed, I guess. He's only exploding just a little bit, so he leaves the room.
There's medication for that.
Exactly. So they bring in Fry's new roommate, and who should it be but Roberto? He got caught again trying to rob the same bank. And he's the same. He's just not pretending, I guess. He's practicing his stabbing while he's with Fry. But
I know that we find this out way later, but Roberto was actually designed to be insane. Like they actually wanted to figure out if they can make it an insane robot, so they made Roberto.
Something like this, right? Yeah. Well, we also kind of get a glimpse of that a little bit at the end of this episode, but we'll get to that for sure. But yes.
Yeah. He's clearly childhood trauma.
Exactly. He's clearly insane for many reasons, and somehow he got a knife in. But whatever the case, he starts stabbing at Fry, and he himself also starts mocking Fry for, you call yourself a robot, Red, and all this stuff. And then this is when Fry snaps. Next scene, the crew finally gets him out. They finally were able to release him because Fry has apparently made a breakthrough. And Fry now believes himself to be a robot, and he's going like beep, beep, acting like a robot and everything. But obviously,
beep, boop, boop.
Yeah, but obviously he's not a robot. He's still very much Fry, but he just doesn't know it. He's done.
And I love Leela here because she's like, no, poor Fry, and she pulls his head into his chest, and as that happens, Fry going beep, 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 beep.
Yeah. Like the excitement, beep, 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 right? So that is a pretty good joke, actually. I like that one. So Fry still has a sensation of some things, I guess. Any case, they cut over to the Planet Express headquarters, and the crew are trying to talk sense into Fry, right? Like, hey, Fry, like you're not a robot. You're this or all this stuff, and Fry is he's just not hearing it, right? There's no reason for him to think that he's human anymore. So he's trying to figure out his programming, I think is what he says, right? So at first he's trying out to be I think they call it a food matron. This is pretty good, actually. He pulls out like sandwiches out of his pants.
Not his pockets, from inside his pants.
Like he opens up his zipper and he gives them like all sandwiches. So I want everybody to understand, Fry must have at some point, as thinking as a robot, made sandwiches, put them into his pants, and then walked into the other room and then had this conversation with everybody before all this happened, right? Like this. What wonderful writing.
Even Zoidberg didn't want those sandwiches.
Zoidberg was actually kind of like, yeah, he seemed a little put off too. Isn't that strange? That would have been funny, actually. He's like, ooh.
It's very true when you think about it. Yeah, Zoidberg ate a dead raccoon.
Out of his old shell.
Out of his old shell.
Oh, man. So we go back to the HAL Institute, and Bender's kind of like, yes, he's tweaking the satellites on his teeth, right? Trying to get like a ball game or something.
Yeah.
And he sees Roberto there, and they meet up again. And Roberto's pushing this little, what do you call this? Like a little bed of some sort, like the cot.
Gurney, yeah.
Gurney, yeah. But it's like a hover gurney because it's the future.
Hover bed, hover gurney, yeah.
So he pushes it in front of him. He's like, hey, do you want to like jump on this for a second? He's like, yeah, no problem. So because Bender's like kind of aloof, whatever. So he gets on, and Roberto takes.
He's a disguise.
He takes a piece of Dr. Perceptron onto him and puts his little head on as a disguise, and they basically just run out the walls and break out. As soon as they do, they escape. So Roberto and Bender are now on the lam from the HAL Institute, and they run across the country. They first they try to jump into a boat, and they fall through it because they're like massively heavy. They just fall right into the water. And the next time they try and take a plane, but they end up flying the plane, crashing into the same place they just were, and they continue running. So
it's a good little montage or sequence, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask Andrew this because I'm pretty sure is that plane situation, that plane sequence, that's from an actual film as well, is it not? That they're borrowing from like North by Northwest or something?
I want to say it's North by Northwest.
Yeah. The Hitchcock film, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like because it's about an escape, right? They're trying to get away. And then the jumping into the boat, I think there's just like a funny little gimmick. I don't think that's really taken from anything. So they keep on running. In any case, Fry, back in the HQ, is trying to still figure out what kind of robot he is. So he's trying out like with Hermes, he's trying to be a calculator. Hermes says he's an idiot. He then tries to be a tool bot for Leela. Doesn't work. However, as he's trying to turn the little screw for her, she has like a little oil can for something. And I mention this because it'll come back later. He takes that oil can, he puts it into his his armpit area or whatever, and then he puts
lube up his arms.
Yeah, he puts it into his front, his pocket inside of his jacket. Okay, and he closes the jacket up because he's still wearing all of his similar clothes. Still doesn't work. So Leela's had enough. So she tries to wake him up the only way that she thinks she could do so, and this is by passionately kissing him, which she does. At first, we think it might work. There's like the happy little music, and Fry smiles, but then it's finished off with a beep. And Fry still is none the wiser. And then when we get to this, the final portion with Fry here before the end, Fry is drinking a ton of beer because, as we know, robots tend to need beer to fuel themselves. But Fry is human, so he gets drunk and he passes out. And he falls behind the sofa, knocks it over, and of course, like he's hidden from view from everybody else. So that'll come in. So Bender and Roberto, one more time, because Roberto wants to thank Bender. He brings them over and they rob yet a third time the Big Apple Bank, trying to take everything else. But this time the police were onto him, and they're there, and they try shooting at him or whatever. And there's like these laser glass. So Roberto takes it, uses it as a shield. They run away, and they end up hiding at the Planet Express headquarters, which the police follow them to. They take him. Basically, Roberto uses everybody as hostages, ties them up. I do like this little. What does Bender say? Like he's coming down with Stockholm syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Handsome.
Yeah, handsome, right? So has them all there, and as soon as he's about to, I think he's going to kill Bender, if I'm not mistaken. Hence the Stockholm syndrome point. Fry wakes up and he sees that Roberto's attacking his friends, and so he's now, I know what I am now. I'm a battle droid here to destroy evil robots from hurting innocent people. And so Roberto's like, what are you doing, Red? And he like starts attacking him and he stabs him. But the knife just goes into the can, does not hurt Fry, therefore thinking, oh, he must actually be a robot. And Roberto freaks out. So as Fry starts to go on him, like starts making noises, Roberto throws a knife, cuts his arm, doesn't really notice. And then this is where we were kind of alluding to, Mitchell, right? From the past. Roberto starts making noises. What does he say? Like, I'm sorry I broke the vase, Mommy. Don't weld me to the wall, Mommy.
Don't weld me to the wall, Mommy.
Yeah.
Is that something like, was there some book, some Stephen King novel or something where a terrible parent would like nail their kid to the wall or something like that?
I'm sure there is.
Fine.
Jesus, I can't think of a good parent in those books. But yes, I mean, I think that's from a lot of stuff. I think this is also just like, as a robot, don't like weld me to the wall, right? Because he's made of metal. I think that's just kind of like the play on for that. But in any case, Roberto freaks out.
Yes.
Right. Freaks out, and he ends up, I don't want to say like,
the window.
Yeah, he jumps out the window. I don't think he tries to like, do anything, but he's like, just jumps out the window. And he lands on there, and then the police are like, okay, we're ready for your demands, but obviously he's done. So
yeah, Smitty's quite useless.
Smitty is useless. So with here, and then Fry like realizes, oh no, I'm bleeding. What? And he realizes, oh, he must be human, and he's so relieved. So they finish off the episode with bandaging him up, and Leela says like, oh, you're a real hero, and she actually kisses him on the cheek, which he's happy about, and Bender says,
never continue to wash this cheek.
Yeah. Bender says that, oh, you're a credit to my species and all this stuff. Like, you have a heart of a robot, just like inside me, I have the heart of a human. And he pulls out like a human heart. Don't know why, but he does. And everybody just gets disgusted, and episode ends. And yeah, that's Insane in the Mainframe. So yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. It's just not as funny. A few scenes are quite funny, but not overall funny. So yeah, Andrew, your overall thoughts with everything here.
Yeah, love the episode. Like I think there's a great social commentary somewhere in here, like just talking criminal recidivism with Roberto hitting the same bank 3 times. Like what does that tell you?
The system fails again.
Yeah,
exactly.
We already talked about poverty as a mental illness. Like I just love like heavy-handed social commentary, which is just great.
Yes.
But like it's a smart episode. It's fun. Like I said at the start, it holds up well. It's not going to shoot the moon or anything, but great episode overall.
Well, I think that's kind of the key to this episode, right? Is that it is smart. It's very smart. Mm-hmm. And a lot of episodes, like I would argue, a lot of them kind of going forward for this season, and then even the Comedy Central era, I think are very well written in terms of like how intelligent they are. So I think this is like kind of really hitting that. So yeah. And how about you, Mitch? What's your overall impression of this episode?
I liked it. I liked a few things about it. You know, just like 1 or 2 things. You know, honestly, Roberto probably was a good character that they introduced, because I think this is the first time we see him, right?
This is the very first time.
Yeah, he every time they add him in an episode, it's always like, yeah, he's the villain. Yeah, he's fun. But yeah, it's just
he's just always insane, right? He's just always saying wacky things. Yes. I think he did become kind of a cult favorite for a lot of people, right? It's like every time Roberto shows up, because even in a cameo, he still does ha-ha. Yeah, that's all he needs, right?
I think he might have one of my favorite lines in this movie. It's when Fry was going to testify, and then the judge handed him his phone, and then when you cue in, and then the other hamburger will also be made of your lungs.
Right.
So it's just like, what the heck was he saying there? And I find that little line hilarious here. And then of course Fry says, I refuse to testify on the grounds that my organs will be chopped up into a patty. To which the judge says, yes, the 67th Amendment. So it's like, so there's more
things have, like, somebody else has done this and they had to make an amendment. Yeah,
about your organs being ground into a patty. Into patties, so it's just like, we made that into an amendment where you can say, no, you're not going to tell us this.
I just love that Roberto knew to call the judge. I just love that he knows his cell phone number. What? You're saying that if I testify, I'll be killed? Oh, it's for you. Like, I thought that was great. But
I think that's one of my favorite lines. And also the Lincoln thing saying, like, yes, I was born in 200 things, because it's like,
200 log cabins.
200 log cabins. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I think, yeah, I like that. I like that.
Multiple
Also,
personality
the Lincoln was designed after like the Disney World, Disneyland Lincoln robot. So it's
Right,
still a
that's
very
what- yeah.
rigid, only bends at the hip and it does that hello kind of thing.
Exactly.
Which
No,
I
it's
don't.
great.
I can't remember.
Animatronic.
Yeah. Have either of you two been to Disneyland or Disney World?
Of course.
Okay, so that's two of us here. Andrew hasn't. What a sad, lonely childhood of no Disney for Andrew.
Could you imagine Andrew going to a Disneyland?
And look how I turned out.
Sub-perfect.
Sad. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about then your MVPs, favorite scene, favorite joke of the episode. Mitchell, do you want to go first?
I don't really know who my favorite character would be. I'll stick with Fry just to keep it plain and simple because he was the I think he would have handled it much better than I would if I was put in an insane asylum.
Sure.
So Fry and I don't know. Just anytime Roberto was a part of it, just like his weird antics, like when he went and beat up the doctor and put his head on him, as well as like put on his body like a.
Yeah,
like
Roberto's funny. Yeah.
And then like he's talking casually to Bender as he's breaking through walls, and Bender's like, "So what are you thinking about breaking out?" "Oh, we just did."
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And
About
also
10 seconds ago.
Yeah, robbing the same bank 3 times in a row. That's some balls.
Yep.
But
or no brain, right?
Or no brain. Yeah. Well, yeah.
He's insane in the mainframe, if you will. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just say that a few of the scenes with Roberto were probably pretty good up there, but it's all pretty good.
Great. Yeah. How about you, Andrew? Overall scene, overall joke, MVP. Yeah.
MVP, honorable mention to Zoidberg. Just he made such a good hostage.
Oh right, that was the other one.
Yay,
too,
I'm
sorry.
helping.
Yeah.
Do you have any better hostages?
Yeah. That was probably I think my second favorite joke.
Right.
Yeah, so that's also my favorite joke.
Fair enough. That was a good-
But like I've got to give it to Bender. Obviously, central character in the episode, the catalyst to all this happening, having the time of his life as accessory to robbery. Doesn't even know he is accessory to robbery.
Sure.
What a hero. But I think this episode really just reminded me to double check my RRSPs and make sure my retirement funds are in order. So
yep.
Make
$0.
Make sure you're paying into that, everybody.
Make sure you're paying into that.
Hey, $0 is $0.
But it is touching that Zoidberg saw that and he was like, "You kept it for me."
Yeah.
You remembered all these years.
And we still have like Hermes clearly has a strong hatred towards Zoidberg, no matter what it is, right? I like that continuity of it. Yeah, no, you guys play both. You chose like the two main characters of the episode. I'm actually going to go Roberto. I think the guest star of the episode I think gets the credit for me, but I think Roberto is just a highlight for it. I love, like the lung. Your other lung will turn into hamburger, and like all this stuff, and calling the judge and all this stuff. Mind you, I do love the judge as well. I think he's probably my second favorite of the episode, just even though he's only in for the one scene. But that whole court scene, I think is gold, absolute gold for it. Not to mention malfunctioning Eddie. I think that's also very, very funny to see on these ones. So, well, wonderful. Thanks again, Andrew, for joining us. It was wonderful to have you.
Thanks for having me. Always
Absolutely.
a pleasure.
Absolutely. We'll hope to see you soon. And take it easy. And Mitchell, as always, thanks for being here with me. And we'll see you everybody next time for Bendin' in the Wind, season 3, episode 13. So, toodaloo, Mitchell. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo.